A friend asked me to make a bookshelf for her 1-year-old daughter. She has a number of killer mid century modern pieces in her house, and I wanted this bookshelf to complement that. And after a few drafts, we landed on this. I'm Greg Rasky, and this is the Roaring Woodwork. The legs were up first, and I went with poplar since they were going to be painted white. I got an 8-foot, 8-quarter board and started breaking it down into rough pieces for the legs. And after a few crosscuts, I had the rough leg stock. I marked the angles where the 3 leg pieces would intersect, and then cut close to those lines on the bandsaw to sneak up on the final size. For angled pieces like these, I reference everything off of a jointed edge. That jointed edge butts up against my miter gauge to make the angled ends and against the fence on my tapering jig. I mark out where I want to cut the joinery, which in this case is doubled up 6mm dominoes. And with a dry fit to confirm, it's time for the maple boxes, or drawers, or shelves. The 4-quarter maple goes through the same milling process, which brought it down to 5/8 of an inch thick and about 5 inches wide. After I cross-cut the box pieces to their final lengths, I started cutting dovetails on the Lee Jig's dovetail jig. You can determine the width of the dovetails by adjusting metal fingers on there, so I went with the biggest dovetails that would fit. I practice hand cutting dovetails on scrap wood quite a bit, and it's definitely a skill I'd like to grow, but in this instance, I went with the router. The top shelf has angled sides, so I cut those on the tapering jig before routing the pins. And I plunge routed a 1/4 inch groove into the drawer sides, plunging an upcut spiral bit just shy of the ends of the tails to receive the 1/4 inch panel. If I had run the board over the table saw, the groove would have been visible from the outside, so I went with the router here. After resawing and planing some boards down to 1/4 inch to make the bottom panel, I glued them up and pre-finished them with General Finish Armor Seal. I marked where I wanted the cutouts for the drawer fronts and just cut to the outside of those pencil lines on the bandsaw. Then I taped some cutoffs to serve as a guide for my flush trim router bit and cut to those lines. The last pieces I needed to make were the drawer dividers. After cutting them to length, I plunged the domino into the divider and the front and back of the inside of the drawer. And after another dry fit, it was time to glue all the boxes together. If you noticed all the walnut in the background, it's because I was also working on a king-size bed, which will be my next video, followed by some of these other pieces. Feel free to subscribe to my channel to see when those videos come out, and seriously, thank you to everyone who joined me over here after the Rockler Plywood Challenge. That was a lot of fun. I laid out where I would attach the boxes to the legs using a 2-inch plywood spacer across the bottom to mark where the first box would sit off of the floor. And from there I worked my way up to the top shelf using 6-inch pieces of scrap plywood to keep the spacing consistent. I pre-drilled the mounting holes and taped them off before painting. I wanted to keep unfinished surfaces in contact rather than glue paint to polyurethane. I applied 3 coats of paint to the legs and finished them up with paste wax. I used wipe-on poly on the boxes, sanding lightly between each of the 4 coats. The tape on the sides of the boxes is where I'm gluing them to the legs, so it kept finish from going on there. And finally, I attached the whole thing together with glue and screws, and plugged the screw holes with maple plugs. And then it was ready for its home. Thanks again for coming by and watching this, and I'll see you guys soon.